Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
So guys, we're here for another episode of My First Commission by Colibri Real Estate, and today we have a really interesting guest. We are talking to Angela Trible, who is doing real estate part-time. Her current day job is a customer success manager in software, and she does real estate on the side. And in her first year in real estate, she closed over $1 million part-time. Angela, how did I do? Did I get all the key talking points?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You got it.
Cool. So, Angela, you've got a really interesting story, right? But I want to take it back to the very start, right? Mm-hmm. You're working in software or before that, and then you decide you want to get your real estate license. Like, what was the aha moment? I need to get my license.
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, I always knew that I wanted some part of involvement in the real estate world, going all the way back to when I was in high school, just because I loved from the design part of it, the architecture piece of it, the investment opportunities it offers. So that was back when I lived in Iowa before I went to college. I went to college, was like, I'm going to get something sturdy. So I got a degree in science. Thought I was going to dental school. Didn't do that. Pivoted into business and then went into sales. Shockingly, because I was not a salesperson at all. Actually loved it. And then my family was making the move out to Arizona. So I decided, I think I'm going to pack up and move to Arizona. At the time, I was going back and forth if I wanted to get my license in Iowa, but held off just because I didn't want to have to do it twice. And then once I got to Arizona, I decided I'm just going to make the jump. So I was between jobs and got licensed in 2024. Just early spring, March, I think, was when it was all said and done. And then here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're on a podcast talking about your life in a real estate industry.
Yeah.
And your licensing journey, you did it locally at the Arizona School of Business and Real Estate, ASREB, and you did it in person.
I did it in person, yeah. It was a 9-day course. A friend of mine actually recommended it to me, and I was like, that's exactly what I need, the express version. And they're like, it's a lot. And I was like, that's okay. I can do it.
I mean, it's 90 hours in Arizona.
It is, yeah.
And you did it in 9 days.
Yeah.
And then you rolled straight in from the pre-licensing course into the school test.
I took it the next day. Yeah. So the schooling got done on a Thursday, and I took the exam on Friday. First section, you could take it.
Yeah.
It was the very first thing in the morning. I was coming back to school, but I just went into the test room and passed.
Passed first time?
Well, passed first time, and then obviously then I had to do the state test, but
then how quickly did you do the state test?
I did the state test. That was a Friday. I did the state test on a Tuesday in Tempe. That was the soonest I could get in somewhere. So I went there and took that and passed that too.
Yeah, and you weren't sure that you passed. You were telling me earlier.
Oh, I was not. No, so at the very end, you don't know what percentage you get on the state test. So the person that greeted me at the front door and gave me my paper at the very end, she handed it to me upside down and was like, have a good day, sweetie, kind of discouraging, sounding, looked as if how I felt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did not pass. And so I was like, I want to do this thing again. I knew I should have waited. And so my foot hit the curb outside, and I was like, okay, rip off the Band-Aid. And I looked at it and it said, congratulations, you passed. And I was like,
yeah.
So it's really, really exciting.
So you had a whirlwind.
I did. It was 2 weeks. It was literally, so that following Monday after the state test would have been 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Yeah. So I sent it all away. I had my fingerprints and everything. I sent it all away to the department and then got it back in a couple weeks.
Wow. And how did you find the in-person experience? Because I believe you tried to do it online first and didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. So I am a very self-motivated person, so I just thought remote on my own time, I can knock this thing out no big deal, maybe save a couple bucks, but in reality, I did not. I did it for probably 3 weeks or so, and I was like hundreds of slides in, pages and pages of notes in, and was feeling like I'm not going to get this done in even 6 months, like if I go at this pace. And I was putting in hours a day and long days, and I just decided I need to do something else. So I talked to a friend of mine who has been licensed for several years now, and he was like, you need to do the in-person course in Scottsdale. That's where I went. It was a great experience. The professors are amazing. The mnemonics they use, like, it'll just stick. They'll, the emphasis on the certain subjects that you need to know. You're not overwhelmed with tons of slides and all this. So I signed up. That was on a Sunday again. And actually I tried to register for the Monday start the next day, because that's just how I am.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get in. So I showed up at the school and they let me pay and like join that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was literally
it's like, if the worst they can say is no, but I'm going to show up, I'm going to pay, and hopefully I can start that day. And then they made me a name tag the next day.
So I think you've got like one of the Guinness Book of Records quickest time to get licenses by the sound of it.
Yeah. So I made the decision on a Sunday, and then I was like, by 2 weeks later on that Sunday, I was done with it.
You got your license.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly you can get it done.
Yeah.
And then, so you get it within that couple of weeks, right? You get your license, and then how did you find a brokerage? What was your next step?
Yeah, so actually the day that I took the school exam, I walked out of the exam kind of, tired. But then I was like, all right, like, let's go into the career fair. That doesn't come around very much. So walked into that. Really, that was the exposure to a lot of different brokerages. So that was how I got familiar. I do also have friends that work at different ones in the Valley, but really wanted to like meet them for myself and hear what there was to offer. So because it is a partnership, like just as much as we're choosing them, like they need to choose us too. So it needs to be a good fit. So I decided I'm going to go in, just be myself, talk to them, get as much information as I can, and maybe meet a couple people, just because it was toward the tail end of it. And then ended up spending most of my time at Berkshire Hathaway and just knew that was it from there.
What was it that made you know?
Honestly, I think it was just the way that I felt. Maybe the woman I was talking to, she just felt like a friend when I was talking to her. And I was like, this is somebody that I could speak with, with any question, even if I feel like it's dumb. I'm brand new to everything. So I think that this is where I need to be from a support standpoint. I'm not just going to be like a number. And that's ultimately what pushed me over the edge to commit to Berkshire Hathaway.
Cool. So this kind of roller coaster journey, right? It's like super quick. You then hang your license with them.
Yeah.
But you're still doing a full-time job. Like, how did you fit the school in around your work?
Yeah. So that was a unique time. So I had actually lived in Arizona for a little while before deciding to part ways and move into something else. I worked in logistics and sales previously, and really loved the client relationship piece of it, the farming piece, if you will. So relationships are huge to me. People are huge to me. Helping people's a passion of mine, hence the science background. So really from that point, I knew I wanted to move into something like customer facing or more client relationship focused, which is how I landed in the software space. That took some time to find the right fit. So in that interim couple months, that's why I needed something quick for like real estate. I was like, I want to get my license, and if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. But all the while I was doing interviews and stuff at the same time, like right around that period that I was doing the testing or the schooling and then the testing. Okay,
cool. So it was while you were transitioning roles. So in your first year, right, my first commission, we talk about real estate agents that are successful, right? You've got your full-time gig, your 9-to-5 corporate career, which a lot of people leave to do real estate, and you're doing the opposite. You're like, right, let's just do the two things together. Kind of, how did you kind of juggle that in the early days, like learning the industry and then learning logistics to software?
Yeah,
like
software.
Learn two things at once.
Two new industries, two new roles, responsibilities. It was not easy. It was definitely like a grind because you don't feel like you have very much time outside of your work, both jobs for anything. But I wanted to give it, my all in real estate. Like I knew that I had to give 100% of what I had. So even though I'm working full time, I still have to do the open houses and put in the work if I want to meet people and potential clients. Like obviously being a couple years into living in Arizona, you don't know that many people. So your network is limited that way, but the more you're out there and meeting people, going to neighborhood events, things like that, it really gets your name out there and people are like, what do you do for work? So you share. And then
Which one do you pick? Or you say both?
both. I mean, yeah, both most of the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just depends. You're like, are you in the market for a house? Because I'm also a real estate.
Yeah.
It usually just comes up organically where, somebody mentions it or they're looking, and then, if there was ever a point where I felt like I couldn't do both, then there's always referrals too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always some income to be
Yeah.
made.
And how did you get your first client? Like your first commission?
My first commission was from my boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
So he actually did a flip. He's a general contractor and owns a construction company in the Valley. So he purchased a home that he wanted to flip and did the construction on it. So I helped him buy it and then helped him sell it.
Yeah.
At the end. Yeah.
Wow. So you got that one. What about your next one?
Yeah, the next ones, honestly, they were all connections through him and his business. So people that were interested in doing something similar, people that were looking, to redo their current home, sell that and buy something else. It honestly spiderwebbed from him because he's lived here his whole life. So it's been a really huge blessing to have, it's the people
Mm-hmm.
through others, and found those opportunities through him.
Yeah. And you said earlier on that like you going to open houses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of your big strategies for the year? Kind of how many do you do and kind of where do you see success with those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't do them as much anymore, I would say maybe once a month, just because it is a balance, right, of the full time and then the weekends and stuff. So I will say at the beginning, I was holding 2 to 4 a week, and obviously meeting people that way, building up your client base or people you can start contacting. I didn't really do the cold calling, but like I didn't really do door knocking, but like door drops, like the little goodies or like
Mm-hmm.
a pamphlet or something like that, where that was a big thing. And then the open houses I did. So it's obviously an investment. I got my signs with my name on it because the more people that can see your name out there, I just believe that it starts to resonate. Just like I was talking to one of the instructors today before we came in. Every time I drove by at my old house, I would drive by and I saw her sign, and I was like, I think of her every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that familiarity with the name that was like, if I get out there enough, like I'll meet, expand my
someone's going to want to buy a home at some point.
Yes, exactly. Like the output eventually will generate some luck, if you will.
Yeah,
so,
you make your own luck.
Make your own luck.
Right. So you're doing your full-time gig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you find time to do that and real estate and have a life?
It's gotten a lot easier just because now that I am a little more settled into the role. I mean, I'm not even at my year mark of being at my current role, but that first several months, you're still learning again, like the brand new, I'm learning every single day still, but it's not as consuming in my evening time where I'm just like, how do I do all of this at the same time? So now it's a little bit more of a balance where I can turn my laptop off at 4, get home, get things settled, maybe have a bite to eat, and then get on my laptop and start looking at real estate stuff. But one blessing that, is really embedded in the MLS, honestly, is the automated emails that go out to clients or just people that are looking. They're in the market to buy maybe in 6 months or in a year. So I get them set up on, filtered searches. They can tell me kind of the buy box material that they're looking to have, and then it sends out automated emails. So then as they're interested in one or want to go see one, they'll just email like, hey, this one looks good. Can we go see it this weekend? Or can we go see it after work or something like that? And it's a little bit more like efficient that way, where it's not as hands-on every single day, but I can still like check in and keep that relationship alive.
So you're automating a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
touch points
Yeah,
to make you a bit more efficient.
exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So I stay relevant, but it's still keeping that relationship going and providing something of value in the listing.
Yeah,
offering,
no,
so.
definitely.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge over your first year?
Oh gosh.
And if you've got more than one, you can share it.
Yeah, definitely. Biggest challenge. So, as we know, last year was kind of a big year in the real estate world with some of the NAR settlement items. So definitely a lot of things that were changing from more tenured real estate agents to the new people. So like for me, I didn't know any different, but for them, it was like, we're learning these changes. We need to do things a little bit differently than we have in the past. So that was a learning curve just because I had heard one thing or like gone through contract classes and stuff one way and then had to kind of pivot and be like, wait, which one is the right way? So that was one thing that was a little bit challenging, but obviously when you have the support that you have with your brokerage, you can ask questions and be like, okay, what's the right course of action or what's my standard order procedure for X, Y, and Z? And then they walk you through it and it's kind of just a checklist. Other than that, I would say moving from a 100% remote role before getting my license, and now I'm working on a hybrid schedule. So I'm in the office half the time and remote half the time. It was definitely a deficit of like a struggle to meet people because, I was meeting people at the dentist. Like I was making friends. I'm good friends with my dental hygienist. She wants to buy a house in the next year. So we've been talking. Just meeting people was a struggle when you're trying to build up that network, if you will. So it was like, do I do community events or do I go on Bumble BFF? Like, I was like, I don't know what to, how do you meet people organically in your later 20s? And so that was definitely a struggle for me, just being a transplant from Iowa, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you're coming into year 2 shortly, right? What's your plans for this second year?
Honestly, for the second year, obviously as opportunities arise, like friends of family or family, friends of friends, or just like my organic circle needs I feel like I need to redo them.
Yeah, no, I can ask the question again.
Okay, so...
Do you want me to ask the question again for you?
Yes, please.
So you're coming off the back of your first year, transitioning into year 2. What are your plans for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so the plans for the next 12 months, I would say, really are around like personal investment opportunities or investments within the family or friend circle, just because I have a real passion for making passive income, obviously, but also like seeing where our dollars that are just sitting there can work for us. So for me, it's finding the next best opportunity, taking advantage of the market fluctuations and things like that. And then obviously anybody that needs someone to represent them, obviously being that voice and advocate for them as well in the meantime.
So when you say passive, do you mean that you're going to be buying properties and investing in yourself?
Yeah, either myself or again, like my boyfriend or family. Just looking, I have a huge passion for just like going on the MLS and like seeing what's out there, even if it's a teardown in Paradise Valley. I'm like, it's a teardown in Paradise Valley and you can build something else on it. Like, who cares? So, looking out for like little gems or diamonds in the rough like that, or keeping my ears open for things off the market. Just really capitalizing on the opportunities that are out there in such a huge growing area coming from like cornfields. So it's not that I was great, but Phoenix, it's just abundant with opportunities to invest for sure.
Do you think you'll ever go full time?
I definitely could see myself going full time. Obviously I'm not married yet. Just kidding.
Is that a hint for him if he's watching this?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching this, take this as a really subtle hint.
So I'm not married yet, but someday obviously I want to be a mom and have kids, and real estate, it always is offered that flexible career, work-life balance where of course you're putting in weekend time and you're putting in time at night. You're working with clients around the clock if you choose to do so. It's, you get out what you put in. So it's, but if you want to take a step back and you're able to take a step back financially and do it almost in like a part-time, but be a mom as well, it's a career that offers that opportunity. So that's another reason that it's always been in the back of my mind for sure.
You know, we hear that a lot. There's a lot of people that we meet that are super successful in real estate that were a stay-at-home mum that transitioned back into the workforce, and this was the best way for them to do it.
Exactly.
And you'll have a heads up on it, right? Because you've been doing it for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah, the learning piece of it won't be as the hurdle, or it won't seem as daunting because it's like you've already got it in your back pocket. Yeah,
so a lot of people that watch this are in a couple of buckets, right? It's people that are thinking about getting their real estate license, people that are taking the studying for it, right, and doing the course, or they're newly licensed. Now, if we're in that first bucket and we're thinking about getting our real estate license, what advice would you give to that person about starting their real estate career?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I would say go for it. 100%. I waited for a while before I made the decision to, because it seemed like Mount Everest without a backpack or any supplies. And I was just like, this is going to take me years to study for and make the time for and get the job done. But obviously with places like ASREB, it's very, very possible. I mean, even like a local, school that offers in-person or online classes, it's a lot less daunting than you think once you just make the commitment to it.
And do you think that's what kind of set you apart, is that you went super intense and you went all in on it?
Yeah, I mean, I got it done faster, but you have to be like in the mindset and fully receptive to and open-minded to what the instructors are saying. Be diligent. It's a grind. Like you're sitting there for 10 hours or whatever, and it's like you get a 30-minute lunch or whatever it is. And I mean, the 9 days goes by fast, but in the moment it can feel like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to ever remember this? I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. So it's a lot at the time. Like it's a hard 9 days, but each day you just make a check mark, like one day down, however many to go. So
I think one of the things that you've said a couple of times is you talk about like picking the right broker. You talk about the instructors kind of helping you navigate that scenario. How important is it in picking the right broker for you and the right mentor?
100%. Yeah, it's very important. It's, I think, critical in the development of your early months and first years in the business. I mean, really forever, but especially in times that are changing, or, you don't ever want to get complacent in something or just assume that you know something. So having a support system to refer back to or go to with questions is huge. Instructors, same thing, having their expertise, their storytelling, their personal advice to you as somebody that's just getting their pre-licensing done, saying, if I were to go back, I would do this, this, and this when I'm looking. So I'm taking notes the whole time. Like even when they're off content of the school and they're telling their personal stuff, I was still writing it down because I was like, I need to know this for when that's me in a couple of weeks or a couple of days. So,
and you just said something that kind of sparked a question, is if knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time and talk to Angela the day before she signed up for the exam, what would you tell her? Signed up for the school.
Oh, the day before I signed up. Well, I didn't really have very much time to think because I signed up. I showed up that morning and went in, but I would tell her, go for it 100%. I would say, you're smarter than you think you are. You're capable of doing this. You have done a lot harder things than study some material and take a test. So you can certainly do this.
Do you wish you'd done it sooner?
100%. Yeah. I wish that I had... I think it's all in God's timing personally, but I I think it came at the right time for me. But looking back, I mean, just over my last year, thinking of that a couple years ago would definitely be something that I wish that I'd done sooner, just from a sheer financial perspective.
Yeah. When you get that commission check for the first time, and you're like,
this is all took me not even 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Here we are. But yeah, I definitely would go back and do it sooner if I could. Yeah. Maybe right when I moved to Arizona.
Yeah. No, fantastic. So, Angela, this has been super helpful. I think the people that are watching it are going to learn a lot. If someone is watching this and they want to stay in touch with you or get in touch, what's the best place to do it?
Yeah. I mean, socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, just my first and last name, Angela Trible. Otherwise, my cell phone and email are welcome to send out there as well.
Fantastic. Cool. So we'll drop your Instagram handle on the link. Angela, that was amazing. I think that's the pod, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.